Hey everyone, Matt here. So it's actually been 99 days since we first pitched the yeast for these two mead batches, and 50 days since the last video where I rack these out into a new carboy. Since that time, I have added some semi-sweet mead to both of these from another batch that I was brewing, just to top them up so that there wasn't so much headspace in the carboys during aging. And I think they're finally ready to be bottled. I just took them out of the fridge where they were cold crashing for a day and a bit. And I took a specific gravity reading of the raspberry one here. And it's actually at 1.010 now, where if you remember from the last time we measured it, it was at 1.013. So it actually converted another 3 points of sugar into alcohol. So it's a little bit stronger. So when you think about bottling, you should also think about whether or not you're going to preserve your mead and stabilize it. If you don't preserve it or stabilize it, then when it's in storage in the bottle aging, it has the potential to spoil and go bad. Or there's the potential that the fermentation process starts up again and it pressurizes that bottle to the point where they explode in storage. There's a few ways to stabilize it. But some people choose not to do it at all, not to preserve it or stabilize it. And there's a few instances that you can get away with that. One would be if you drink it too fast. You know, it doesn't have a chance to age and spoil, doesn't have a chance to start fermenting again if you drink it fast enough. Another instance would be if you use lower alcohol tolerant yeast like D47 or 71B 1122, where they max out at I think like 14% alcohol. Another one would be if you ferment it dry, so there's no sugar in there to allow the fermentation process to start up again. But either one of those, then it still could age out and spoil during aging if oxygen gets into it and stuff. But the two processes that I know of to stabilize it is through filtration, which a lot of the bigger meaderies have that. They have big expensive filtration units. You can get like a smaller, cheaper one. I think it's called like a microjet. I think they're like $400 to $500. They actually have one at my local wine store there that you can rent. I think it's like $10 or $15 a day. You do have to, every time that you filter it, use new filters, which I think they were like $2.50 a piece. And then if you filter it down below 1 micron, then you can filter out those yeast cells. But when you filter out that yeast, all that does is it stabilizes it. It doesn't, protect it or preserve it from oxidization or losing its color or its flavors. So I think the way that I'm going to do it, which is the way that I think most people do it, is through adding chemicals. One is potassium metabisulfite, the same thing that we use in the sanitizing solution. And the second is potassium sorbate. So the potassium metabisulfite is used to kill yeast. That's why we use it as a sanitizer. But it's also an antioxidant that helps preserve the color and flavor of your mead. And then the potassium sorbate is what they call a stabilizer, and it prevents yeast from multiplying anymore. But to know exactly how much of those two chemicals you need to add, you really need to measure your mead. And to kind of understand that process, I do have two really good pieces of information that I'll throw in the show notes. One is a Got Mead Live podcast that they talk about sulfiting and sorbate. And the other one is More Wine PDF that they mention in that podcast. It's on SO2 management. But like I said, you really should measure your mead to know how much to put in there, but I don't have any ways of measuring it. So I'm just going to go off of what they say on the package. So for the potassium metabisulfite, it says to add 1/16 of a teaspoon per gallon. And the potassium sorbate says to add a quarter teaspoon per gallon of unsweetened and a half teaspoon per gallon of sweetened. So this is actually a gallon and a half ish, and it's also a kind of semi-sweet mead. It's on the bottom of a semi-sweet. So I increased both of those proportionally. And then I converted it into grams. So it'd be easier to measure that those fractions or whatever. And it came out to be, for the metabisulfite, it was 0.38 of a gram. And for the sorbate, it was 1.09 of a gram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some of this into a glass, and then a sterilized glass, or sanitized, and then add those two chemicals, stir it up. Then I'm going to put that into a clean carboy, and then rack this onto that, mixing it all up, and then after that I will bottle. So let's get to that. Okay, here we go. The potassium metabisulfite and the sorbate right there. Sanitized spoon and glass. Let's try and not make a mess, which I cannot guarantee. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's just take one of these. Really should have brought my funnel down, I guess. But we'll make this happen. Perfect. Perfect. Looks like there's a little bit of floaties in there. Mini rack and cane out of the sanitized solution. Just put a little bit in this cup first. Pinch it off. Get a little bit more of the floaties out of there. Okay. So let's just rack this over now. Boom. One little missight on my behalf is that this is only 4 liters, and this is 1.5 gallons. So this is not all gonna fit in here. But what I'll do is the stuff that doesn't get in here, I'll put in 2 bottles, divide it up, and then add this to it, and it should have the same amount there, I guess. Should be fine, of sulfites and sorbates. So these bottles were another sweet Recycling Depot find. They were $0.25 each, actually. They're 1 liter bottles. I think they used to actually come from a meadery. But as it is, I brought them home, pressure washed the inside to get all the gunk out, put them in a OxyClean bath, which when that was done, it was like hot water and OxyClean. The label peeled right off, and some of them did have some stuff left in the inside there after that. So what I did was I put some dishwasher soap, hot water, and some dry rice in there, and then you shake it around and it kind of scratches at it, and they all came totally clean. Quarter each, can't complain about that. Whoops. I'm always making a mess. Well, kind of stirred all that sediment up in that. That kind of sucks. So, I guess what I need is one of those bottling wand things. But what we'll do is we'll finish putting this out, and then we'll there we go. Okay. See, that's unfortunate, but then what we'll do is we'll rack. Let's just get this out of here, and then we'll yeah, too bad that I stirred that all up. I'll probably drink it anyways. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think one of those bottling wands, it's got like a little depressor in the bottom where it will start and stop the flow. I think they're only like $10. Maybe we'll get one of those. So that's almost up to here. Okay, that's probably, there's only going to be like a partial little bit left. But so that was 4 bottles. So I'm just going to go and pretty much do the exact same thing with this traditional one. Obviously I'll add a little bit less of those chemicals, but yeah, and I'll bring you back when I got them all bottled, and we'll see how many bottles I got. So that didn't take that long. I did take a specific gravity reading of the traditional there. It ended up being 0.011. So again, at the bottom end of a semi-sweet. And those the sorbate with the little pill form that it comes in, I squished it between 2 spoons and turned it into a powder. And then this time it dissolved like 3 times faster in the mead before we added it. So I ended up with 4 1-liter bottles of the raspberry and 3 and just under a half of the traditional. So if you have any suggestions, you can put them down in the comments. And if you like this content, you can thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next one.